it had to be international, so Swiss, English, working together. It's about a toolkit. My name is Birbeck.
My name is Adrian Gschwend.
And we discovered that we've both been using the same technology for a while to grapple with similar problems. So I'm going to say a little bit about the problems I was trying to solve, and Adrian will talk about some of the problems he was trying to solve. So as a lot of you have probably been doing, you've been taking some of the local authority CSV files, trying to convert them, use them in databases, some people avoiding using RDF, other people desperately trying to use RDF. And as you go through the process of taking the data and the data that was announced today, the central government data, you'll have inevitably been confronted with problems of accuracy, of having to change the information, transform it in some way before you then put it in RDF. Now, one of the things that's starting to happen already, even in this early stage of this information being published, is you're now starting to get people setting up sites that contain copies of this data. One of the problems, though, is that who knows what they did to that data in order to get it into their site? Who knows which company name was changed? Who knows what cost center was changed? Whether some of the values were rounded? And so one of the problems we've been trying to grapple with at a startup I'm involved in called Semantric is when you process that data, how do you make it visible what you did to that data? We looked around all sorts of different solutions and came across something called XLWrap, which is an open source project which will map spreadsheets, CSV files, open office documents, Excel spreadsheets, and map them to graphs, RDF graphs. Fantastic solution. So we fixed a few bugs, put this online in GitHub, it was in SourceForge before, and also then decided to publish the templates that we were using. So now we have a package where you're effectively saying, here you can now see the exact process that we went through in order to get from the CSV file to the triples. More than that, you can take that and do it yourself. Even more than that, you can modify it. You can give back suggestions and say, well, actually, this would be a better way of categorizing that information. We can add more features to XLWrap in order to do things with numbers, dates, all this kind of thing. And so the whole process then, this whole workflow, this whole pipeline now becomes open and visible. So that's the problem we were trying to solve.
And I will quickly show you in one slide what we did. It's very related to that. The thing is that there is a hell lot of information out there in Excel files, or at least in spreadsheets. And it would be really nice if we could make that in a form that we can actually consume it easier by machines. And there is one problem with Excel sheets. The implicit knowledge of the sheet, the format, is only known by the people who know the domain and did the sheet usually. When this person is gone, good luck finding out what it was about. And that's the beauty of XLWrap. You can put this knowledge in a way that you can always get a meaningful information out of it. So that's what we use XLWrap for, and I can tell you that this is also great for every company, because basically every company I know has some information in that form. Even if they just want to use it internally, it's a perfect way to create triples, useful information out of hardly parsable files like Excel sheets, CSV files, whatever you use for this kind of data manipulation. So that's what we use it for in our project.
Great. So before we come to questions, so what we're hoping to do is get people to be involved, take the templates. They're on, as I say, in GitHub. It's called the Open Data Grab Kit, and it may even get to the point where people who are publishing CSV files at the same time, as a kind of interim, rather than going directly to RDF, at the same time publish the template that would transform this. And as Adrian says, that captures the knowledge that people have about the information. So sorry, Ted.
So this provenance information about the transformation, is that in machine-readable format?
So the templates are what they call it, trig files. They're triples. Yeah, it's RDF files that define the templates.
It's like Turtle. If you ever used Turtle, it's almost the same with a little bit different
name graphs.
syntax.
Name graphs, basically.
So this information is parsable, and the output you get is even more parsable. So it's a fantastic thing to play with.
We could even, if there's another question, whilst anybody's thinking of a question, I'll just quickly show you a template whilst you're. So this is a template that takes the central government data that was announced today. And you can see there that one of the things it's able to do is just take a bunch of files. So provided there's many ways that you could set this up. So you could have lots of small files that contain information about a small set of lots of mapping files that themselves control a number of spreadsheets. Or in this case, because they all follow the same pattern, I've just said, well, let's use one template to drive a number of different spreadsheets. And so here you can see what we're starting to do is use the payment ontology, which, is that you, Jenny? Dave? Oh, you're Dave. Hi, Dave. The payment ontology that's being developed to sort of convert this CSV file into lots of different paths, so expenditure lines. And this is the great thing about this solution, it's not like a lot of the CSV converters that you will see, where it tends to take a kind of row-by-row approach. Each row in the spreadsheet becomes a collection of predicates in the RDF, and that's kind of it. This allows you to, all sorts of things are going on here. We're creating government departments, we're using Dave's org, what do you call it? Org. To say this department is a sub-department of that department. We're extracting a lot of information out of just a simple spreadsheet. So it's a very powerful solution. I'd urge you to take a look.
We will add some more features to it. The basic Excel wrap was a bit limited. Mark already fixed stuff. We have some source which we will contribute to it. So have a look at it, and sooner or later there will probably tools for not that technical users as well, for facilitating working with it.
And I've just realised Richard also fixed some bugs in it as well.
Yeah, so I have used Excel wrap. Some time ago I also contributed some architects there. I just wanted to point out there's another tool that is also quite cool for kind of solving this kind of problem. That's Google Refine. It used to be called GridWorks, and then Google bought this company, and now it's called Google Refine. And so what we did is we made an RDF exporter for Google Refine. It's called the Google Refine RDF extension. And so you can kind of do the same general stuff. It's not quite as powerful as Excel wrap, but it comes with this really well-made user interface. So kind of for slightly, so if you have some CSV or Excel spreadsheet and you want to convert it to RDF, and it's a kind of more on the simple side, then Google Refine with this RDF extension is also worth looking into. For really complex stuff, this is definitely
Well, I see the two complementing each other. So in the workflow, so Google Refine is very much at the moment. I'm sure it will move in this direction, but at the moment it's very much you sit there at your desk, you kind of work on a file, tidy it up. And the provenance question is important here because it's not for me to tidy up Sutton's data. Because if I tidy up Sutton's data, why should you trust my interpretation of the tidying up? So really we see it, the workflow is that they have to tidy up their data. And I know that you, and I know Jenny's done some work on improving the what we're doing here is we're saying, well, you've given us some data and we're going to do some work on it, but we want everyone to know what we've done because they might not like what we've done. They might want to improve it. So this, and then the final thing, the reason I'm showing this is that it's automatic, as you'll know, is that you run a Sparkle query on the front end of Excel wrap and it goes off, and if it hasn't got the data, it will go off and retrieve. So we're retrieving the spreadsheets live from their point of origin, which again, for the provenance question, is crucial. We want to get the data from there, from Sutton's website, not from anybody else's website.
I think it's worth pointing out. I think it sounds really interesting. It's worth. But one of the problems is with the data. It's worth pointing out that one of the problems. I mean, we were working on this data, and I don't think there's barely two files which are the same.
Yeah.
You know, you couldn't run this script on that data because they're all different. Some of them Excel spreadsheets that have been just renamed as CSV, and we're a long way from even the people themselves who've actually been given official guidance, treasury guidance of how to publish these things, and they still don't get it right for being able to even do a CSV file in any valid form, never mind doing it in a form and adding their own provenance to it. So I think it sounds really good, but I think it's just a work question. Good works, I would say, it's worth talking. It's really, really interesting. Bob and I are going to be telling something about the work reconciliation in our thing a little bit later, but everyone who hasn't looked at it should have a look at it.
So we don't. Do you have a quick response to that, or we and Martin?
Yeah, just a small question. There are some W3C supported languages for doing this, like XSLT
Well,
or
XSL,
SQL, so you could do a lot of this kind of stuff.
not quite. See,
So why is this new or better?
well, it's new and it's better because it is. And well, I don't want to go into too much, but XSLT is for transforming XML, which is very much about hierarchical nodes. That's very different to dealing with RDF, which is a graph. But the subtext of what you're saying is that you could come up with a standard template language. That's not impossible. That's the kind of thing Richard does. We'll leave that, maybe Dave helps, I don't know. Anyway, so yes, you could come up with a standard templating language, and maybe people will at some point. But XSLT is a very different thing, and SQL is a query language, and that's